Some news today by accepting Speaker Hawkins' invitation to deliver the State of the State coming up in January. What are we going to be hearing from you during that speech?
Well, we're going to talk about our goals and aspirations for the coming year. And actually, we'll even be moving that into my last year in office. We'll be talking about some things we want to get done. And just to give you a preview, we're going to talk about the accomplishments that we've had so far and wanting to build on them. So, the whole balanced budget that we've been able to provide every year, the funding of our public schools for the last 6 years. I want to continue that, expand our early childhood offerings, continue to spread broadband across the state. We want to do all of those kinds of things, and then we want to do a few others. Clearly expanding Medicaid. I'm not going to give up as much. I know they've turned me down 6 times, but I'll never give up on that. I think we've got some new leadership in the Senate, and we have lots of new legislators coming in. So I think it's fair to give the new leadership and the new legislators an opportunity to vote on that. And then lastly, I want to spend the last 2 years in office really bringing together all the stakeholders and developing a long-term, sustainable, fully funded water plan so that we can have water for the next generations to come here in the state of Kansas.
Talk about your thoughts on compromise in the Kansas legislature in terms of last month's election where Republicans increased their supermajorities in both the House and Senate. How will you work to find that common ground given that?
Well, I don't think it means much different than we've been dealing with for the last 6 years. I mean, they've always had a supermajority, so there's always had to be some negotiation and collaboration between both parties, and we will just continue that. And like I said, we're looking at different leadership, particularly in the Senate, and we're looking at a lot of brand new legislators across the board. We don't know, we know what party they belong to, but we don't know what their values are. We don't know what their priorities are. We need to figure that out and find ways that we can work together.
What are your thoughts on the re-election of former President Donald Trump to the White House last month in terms of the mandate that he says he has at the national level? Will that have any effect here in Kansas?
No, I think we have always operated pretty separately. I've tried to stay really focused on Kansas and Kansas issues, things that are important to Kansans, and let the national act play out. I think the one thing I am concerned about, I've been hearing rumblings, is that they may be tampering in a serious way with the Medicaid program, and I'm concerned because that will have the biggest focused impact on the state of Kansas if there's a lot of tampering with that.
Sure. What's going to be your number one legislative priority? Will it be Medicaid expansion or perhaps something else?
Medicaid expansion will be right up there again, but we also really want to hone in on early childhood. I've got 2 years left. I promised when I ran for office in 2018 that I would leave the most comprehensive, robust early childhood system in the country here in Kansas. So I want to make sure that we follow through and I fulfill that promise. So that will be a major focus. And then obviously we want to keep our schools funded, and I would like to make some progress on special education funding.
Sure. In terms of something that you all accomplished this last year that you'll perhaps talk about in the State of the State, we saw tax cuts. We saw some different compromise in terms of tax spending here in Kansas. Are those tax cuts going to be sustainable, given that we've seen a few months here in the last couple of months or so where the revenue hasn't been quite what it was projected to be?
Well, we won't know whether it's sustainable until we feel the full impact of those. We won't feel the full impact of those cuts that we did last year really until sometime early summer. We will see what it does. I anticipate, I obviously agreed to the compromise that we came to because I believe that it will be sustainable, but we won't know until early summer. And, at that point, it could be perhaps, we've also done historic capital investment here in Kansas, over $20 billion. We've created 70,000 new jobs. We need to see the impact of that too as we go forward. So it may not all be, to decrease our revenues, but rather maybe some of the capital investment success that we've had will actually expand and lift our tax base. So we'll see.
Are we wooing any other potential companies right now in terms of economic development opportunities?
We are always wooing other companies. We have a really deep pipeline, and so our Department of Commerce is constantly out there, either responding to requests, which now we're seeing a lot of companies calling us rather than us going out and having to find them. I think a lot of that is because we were able to land the Panasonic project, and that really put the spotlight on Kansas, not only nationally, but even internationally. So we've got a healthy pipeline, and I expect that we will see a lot more success this coming year.
What dialogue will be centered around that issue in the next session, do you believe, just in terms of some of the different job losses we have seen? We've seen some companies shuttered, in Emporia and Wamego, for instance. What's the dialogue going to be in terms of job creation to help people out?
It'll be this, we've never taken our eye off of the job creation ball. That's been since we entered office in 2019. My number one priority then and right now continues to be economic development and bringing good jobs into the state of Kansas and bringing that capital investment. That's how we've been able to fully fund our schools and our roads and work on our child welfare system, do all of that while providing massive tax cuts for Kansans. We've been able to do all of that because we focused like a laser on economic development, and we have really expanded our tax base.
Sure. Do you have a Christmas or holiday message you would like to give to your constituents in the state?
Well, I hope that they have as happy a holiday as possible, and I wish them all goodwill and look forward to working with them come the new year.
And what would you say to lawmakers in the House and the Senate in terms of your priorities for the new year and wanting to work together and find that compromise and common ground again?
Well, I will be talking directly to the legislators in the middle of January when I do my State of the State. And I will lay out what I would like to get done and hope that they would join me in moving Kansas forward.